What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Align Agent Spotlight. I'm super excited today to be here with Betsy Boja and Katie Tarda, rock stars in Bergen County. We're going to talk about some things that you guys are absolutely killing it in, but we're going to get to your story first, get to know you guys a little bit better. And you two are really known for like a real ridiculous level of comprehensive, like advisory, consultative approach with your clients, right? So we're going to get into that a little bit later. But first, if we can just like introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you. Love to hear both your backstories. And you guys are sisters in business together. Yeah. I'm in business with my wife. It's insane. I can only imagine being in business with my sister. So I'm looking forward to hearing the different family dynamic.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So I'm Betsy. I'm the younger sister, and Katie and I have been working together for several years now. And really, the best thing about us is the balance and like the yin and yang of our business.
Awesome.
So, and our clients always mention that too, right? So Katie comes in with like her set of skills, and my experience really has been background in art and architecture and construction and project management.
Awesome.
So when I look at a home for my clients, I'm thinking about, the potential that they could get into this project or, asset really, and what it would cost to get there. And to me, that just comes with years of experience of knowing the process, everything from architectural drawings and details to material costs and building costs today per square foot, if it's new construction with actual foundation or we're just doing a renovation in a project. So I think that's probably my superpower, is coming into a house for the first time and going into the basement first and finding out what's possible and then bringing that to the conversation.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Katie.
And it's true. Betsy, when we enter a house, that's the first place she goes, and I'll spend more time with the clients upstairs getting to know them.
Yeah.
And then we have more of a supportive personalities, I think, where we're constantly playing off of each other in just a natural way. So we do actually like each other, which has been a benefit. I don't know that was true at all times in the history of our childhood, but having evolved through a lot of that and gotten to a place where we're both, moms, and we come from different backgrounds. Betsy's background coming out of design and buildings in particular, and having a master's in architecture and interiors was really supportive to my side of it, because I'm much more interested in the person than I am ever in the property. It's just, I'm more interested in knowing you.
I love that. So what's your background before real estate? Not many people first land in real estate right out of high school or college, right? So
my background, I did interior design for architecture and design firms in Manhattan. Awesome. And pretty much focused on residential architecture and design, but the projects were mostly luxury. So I was doing yacht design and second and third homes. And
awesome. And for Bergen County, high-end market, like that's what people are looking for. They're not looking for turnkey kind of just white box. They're looking for experience.
A lot of times, you won't find it these days, right? So we have to be able to show you how you can make it or build it, and where's the best place to do that for your financial freedom, for your family or your needs, you know?
Absolutely.
So it's really served a good purpose.
And then Katie, pre-real estate for you was hospitality.
Yep. That's where I launched out of.
Awesome.
Was coming out of that.
If I picked up what you guys said correctly, you work with clients together.
Yeah.
Which is unique.
We do.
Not many teams work together with a client. There's like, I handle this part of it. I handle listings. I handle buyers. I handle the paperwork. You handle the client interaction. The fact that you just said you're like in the basement with one person, like scoping something out. You're upstairs, like building rapport, like learning what their visions and dreams are is like a really, really unique. And I've talked to tons of agents doing this for a long time. Like I've never quite seen two people offer that level of service to someone. How do you guys get it? Like, did you just fall into that? Just made sense, or was that a strategic plan?
It's a great question.
I think it is. I think also I'll sort of emphasize, I don't know that we could have done that even 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. Really, it was just about 5 years ago that it started happening. And you have to be a little humble to know, what you are good at and what you excel at. And we were talking about that before a little bit, like leaning into what is your natural gifting, and then also saying, okay, this part isn't, but I have somebody who fills that space really well. And I think that's true. We find that, outside of our own skill sets together, we have to be able to rely on other people and other services. But for us, it's a real benefit for all of our clients, where I can say, hang on, let me put Betsy on that, because that's where she naturally excels.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's also like, every client we work with together, but there's sometimes just a natural like forerunner for that particular client. So it may be after we meet them and we decide, this is what their focus is. So I'm going to come in as a supportive role while Katie is really going to be heavy with, data and spreadsheets and vice versa. And it really happens naturally.
That's awesome.
I think it's just our experience of knowing each other for our lives.
The fact that you guys can do that and not like step on each other's toes and not like confuse the client.
Very
and not
rare.
It's very rare because I work with my wife. My wife still sells our old book of business. I more run the team and recruit and help agents onboard and grow. And we found a lot of trouble working like you guys do right now very successfully. And we had to find our own roles. And I'll come in every now and then, like if there's I was in finance in a previous life. And if there's a very high finance minded person who needs to see the numbers a certain way, I'll jump on a call.
Right.
But like you guys really seem like you yin and yang more. And that's like so valuable if you can find that combo properly.
Well, and I don't have to go home to her. So that's also part of it. Like in the end, like we have those moments where we're in conflict over something and we'll say to each other, like, okay, we need a space and we'll come back to it. But being able to serve that client first, that's so much easier because we can channel it directly to them.
Yeah.
And
you mentioned too earlier, like it's not about us. It's about us making sure that we're getting what our client needs.
Yeah.
And then we're both able to step away from whatever, if there is a tension or something, it really doesn't happen that much. I think maybe it's coming with age now, and the experience of being in real estate for 10 plus years. Like the less you can make it personal and the more you can make it about your client, the better it is for everybody.
Totally. And I think we like go through this evolution as real estate professionals, people like just growth minded, where in the beginning you're in survival, you need to build your business, you get your foundation set, you're learning, you're growing, you're hustling. And then all of a sudden you have a level of survival kind of that's in place. Now you're looking for growth and you're looking for impact. We were talking about impact a lot the last conversation we were just having. And once you divulge the ego from the daily process and you're really about serving other people, making impact on other people, it becomes easier to do that effectively without
you gotta get
this
out of
resistance.
your own way.
Exactly.
Get out of your own way and then also get out of each other's way.
Yep.
Because that's what Betsy was talking about is that there's probably times where your wife might connect with someone better.
Yep.
And realizing it's not about me. It's really not. And we have very different personalities. And so people will really align with someone in particular. And then realizing sometimes I might bring in a client and they came through my Instagram or they came through something, but they gel with her. And I now have to let go of that and step back and say, actually, she's going to serve you way better because she gets your vibe, your intentions better than I can.
I love it.
And just saying, it's not about me.
Yeah.
And then I can really help support her from behind.
So that's like something I always got questioned when we built the team. I had a book of business and I no longer was really working directly with clients. I was handing off some of our top agents on the team and people like, how do you hand them off? Don't they want you?
Right.
And I go, the second I tell them that they're in better hands with Megan, Mike, Rolly, whoever the person is, instantly the conversation changed. I'm not passing you off. I'm putting you in a more opportune, the right opportunity for the right person to serve you.
Yeah.
If I took you on myself, it would literally be because I'm being egotistical or greedy with finances or one or the other. The second you flip that script that, like you just said, you're able to pass for their best interest, the whole conversation becomes
you can't
easy.
be everything to everyone, right? So the other thing that we offer is not just one person's resources, it's both of ours now.
Yep.
So when we have to have, conversations about doing work to a house, or maybe if there's value in adding to it, or, what would it look like if we bought that property next door? So then we're going to be bringing in not only attorneys and contractors and things, but maybe we need to get in somebody specializing in zoning, or maybe we need to get into a finance or a tax accountant that's going to figure out a best way and use to make your money safe while you do a project. So it's like expanding the resource pool for us is now
Totally.
And they do overlap, but we actually, just having grown up in Bergen County, spent most of our formative years there, lived in different towns at different times. We have different networks. And so I graduated from Ridgewood High School. She graduated from Northern Highlands. We grew up in Hohokus, but the school system split.
You got them all covered.
And so because they split when we were there, I ended up having a whole different network where she did that we're still have these opportunities to connect with. And just touching on what you were saying too, it's a mindset. You have to move out of that space of thinking you can be everything to everyone,
Yep.
and also that there's not enough to go around. And the reality is that you actually have more than enough,
Yep.
probably more than you can handle.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you have to let things go to make room for more space for both your
Yeah.
clients and yourself.
And
Yeah.
it works for everybody when you do that. Right? It impacts everyone well.
I will
Okay.
say we've recently just had like an exciting growth where, I was able to do some research into looking about, taking these lots of lands that are coming up and they're not used for their best and highest use. So my kind of play lately has been to research into what could we do with that and which one of our clients can benefit from it.
Wow.
And that's changed like, just working one-on-one with clients in and single family or with one contractor or builder who
Yeah.
wants to do, 4 to 8 family. And now we're looking at maybe doing some rezoning with an even different
That's cool.
clientele.
How
So
cool
it's
is that?
really nice
That's
to be
really
able to
awesome.
keep business going. And then, like you said, have a plateau where now we're growing
Yeah,
into a
push
really
through.
different place.
So I wanted to slight transition there on that kind of topic, right? So we're talking about like the way you guys do things, like high level, the way you think about business, working together, collaboration, things like that. Day to day, like for someone that's looking to partner with somebody, be it a family member or another person to run a production based business, or you guys are doing big numbers, you guys are growing, you guys are just really like doing something that's working in a partnership. What does your day look like? How do you find business? How do you decide who's talking to who's going where you step in? Like, what does that day to day dance look like that really is able to make this work?
I'm going to let Katie answer that because she's definitely the COO of our team.
I think it is constantly evolving. Like you're constantly having to readjust, but finding out where you're naturally settled. And I'm a systems person. So give me an Excel sheet, tell me more about the dynamics behind it. Let me use that to put in the marketing and kind of
Set up the calendar,
set up the
and the
calendar
appointments and the
Yep.
long-term
and reel it in.
goals. And
So Katie, you run point on that.
I run point on that, but I
Okay.
will say we have a sort of seamless transition that kind of did evolve naturally, where then it's a really easy pass off. Once we have a client who's committed, we're working with them. We'll have our agreement signed that they have both of our names on to begin with, so it's never confusing. Even people who don't know us, I start with that explanation. Like I start in partnership. We work on a big mega team. We started with a micro team that morphed into this, and you'll eventually meet my sister.
You're
and
setting
partner.
expectations so they
from the
know
start.
Clarity,
what is going
right?
to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
From the start. And then from there, it's an introduction and it's just a really easy pass off. We haven't had much pushback on that.
Yeah.
And I'm part of it up until I'm needed or somebody jives with me or they trust me
Right.
foremost.
Yeah.
But then it's a really easy pass off. And Betsy really takes people all the way home. I mean, to the door, through it all.
I would just say back to your systems, that keeps me on track too. Like I, maybe see a different way about business and I'm coming more like a project manager. So there's usually like 30 pots on the stove cooking, right? And I know that each ingredient that goes into each one of them, but I do it in a magical matrix sometimes. And I'm a notebook person.
Yeah.
Like Chris, our cousin, probably would laugh about how many notebooks I've had over the years just because I have the same black notebook and I write things down and that's also how I keep my calendar and it's just the way that my brain works. But again, like I'm in the systems too.
Yeah.
Like we have our client management systems. We have, the best backup teams that I know now, like I think they're like personal friends, right? Because they are amazing. And just being able to have the technology to communicate across the board, whether it's our calendars or it's our Slack channel or it's our client management systems or it's the project management side, everything is systemized and that's huge. Like different ways to approach the system, Katie and I, but definitely married to the same process.
I love what you say there because it's talked about this process that you have to work together, right? And then Align has systems and processes that you have to work within or you can't use them, right? There's certain level of engagement with them that if you don't,
everybody has to do it.
It's as agent friendly as possible, but it also needs to be done,
managed,
right? But then you talk about your notebook, which I love because I am a strong believer that like everyone's like, give me the total operating system. How do I operate? Like from all the way from here, but I'm like that last 5% needs to be personalized in my opinion. And it could change. Like I go from digital to notebooks and back, and like depending on what stage of my life I'm in, the business, where I'm at, if I'm traveling a lot, not traveling, like I adapt that. And that last 5%, how you manage your inbox is like the last 5%.
I mean, and that sometimes comes from where you've come from. I mean,
your
and even if you
personality.
didn't had like a career before you got into real estate, no matter what, you had a preference for some things. So I still find myself using Photoshop and InDesign all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get into AutoCAD as much. However, I look at drawings for clients constantly. And to look at something in a section or a detail or to know something about materials is going to help them in that, next step or decision. But my tools are the same tools that Align is using. I just kind of tweak them,
Yep.
and they're totally different from Katie's, which
Right.
is
It's
very
amazing.
apparent and kind of funny, but also like it works. It just works.
What
gotta
works
laugh
for
about
you
it.
works for you.
Right.
I still can't get Red to
Totally.
log in to follow up.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
She
That's-
walks
yeah.
down the street and
Yeah.
sells 25,
Right.
$30 million in real estate every year, but I
Yep.
can't get her to use a CRM. So I'm like,
Totally.
I'll figure out a little gap that
That's
will
right.
get your
Yes,
people into
that's
CRM.
right.
And then,
You know what? It's kind of like your home. Like a lot of times we don't bring it up, but like we are also mothers, we're wives. We have pets. Like we have a lot of things
Yeah.
going on, and you cannot do everything by one system.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. Like we're into our kids' school systems, we're into our health care systems, and you have to be able to be a little bit flexible, but you need to figure out a way to like manage them all. And I
Yeah.
think allowing people to come in and do what you're not good at
Yeah.
has been the
Yeah.
best for Katie
So
and I.
let's
both.
talk a little bit about that. You guys have been with the Align team now for 6 months plus or minus 9 months.
Almost
Okay.
more,
yeah,
9 months.
nice,
Wow.
yeah.
Long time now, coming around for the year. What has been the biggest impact? Like what has it allowed you to do? What's come off your plate and what's it allowed you to do, I guess?
Good question. I think for me, it's the back of house, right? Like that was never my strong suit. I'm much more of a front facing person, and then like transactional type of work. So for having the, like transaction coordinators is so great. It helps with the paperwork aspect of the projects that can sometimes not get done well or right, and yet they're incredibly important.
Definitely.
Being compliant, being able to pull up your paperwork anywhere at any time and know like it's been saved in the right locations.
Yeah.
I think that's been one of my favorite things about the
It
team.
really allows you. I think
huge.
we were talking about earlier too. It's just not upload your files at the end of a transaction
Yes.
coordination.
Yeah.
It is the offers accepted.
Yeah.
Somebody else runs point now.
Yeah.
And someone really good runs
Really good.
point on it.
Like somebody you're
Reliable.
And when they need
comfortable and
you,
confident.
they're like, hey, Betsy,
Yeah.
I need you to chime in here. Or like you're
Mhm.
checking in with your client along the way. Hey, is everything good with Vic? Everything good with AJ, right? JJ. Like you're not running point on it, but you're there when your value
You're participating.
and your is needed, right?
Totally.
So it's huge. And
It's
freedom.
huge.
what has that allowed you to do? Is it, I mean, personal or business wise? Like what is that giving back?
I mean, I don't think we have enough time. I think it's been great. I think it's the confidence it's given me personally to know that this member of my team has been trained, hired because of their quality and their professionalism, like all of those things that you kind of have to trust as a
Mhm.
new team member. I fully support now. Like
That's
I
awesome.
can't tell people enough how
Yeah.
great the transaction coordinators, the support staff, being able to go to our internet to find what we need. I might not be like a client management system person, but I'm definitely a systems person,
Yeah.
and it's great.
That's
it's
awesome.
solid.
And having that confidence just to go out, it's probably landed
Yeah.
you a couple more clients that you might not have gotten if you
Definitely.
couldn't
Our
speak so
business has
confidently.
grown.
Right.
It's definitely
Yeah.
grown
Well,
seamlessly.
and that was kind of where we met the first time, is that, and what I was going to say about the biggest value to me is continually getting into the right rooms.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but I had to kick down doors to get to that conference.
Oh
in
no, I didn't
Nashville.
know that.
Yeah.
Really?
So we were a micro team and we had just bridged 36,000 or 36 million. And I called, Kyle, and I'm like, I want to go to
Wow.
Nashville. And he
Good
said,
for
you can't. And I was like, I can. And he said, nope, you can't because, you haven't done this independently yet. And I was like, but I brought in the business. Like most of that business I created. I didn't follow it the whole way through. We have that partnership. And so he said, all right. And he got back to me, he goes, you can come.
Good for you.
And I mean, I
Let's
was
go.
up on him the entire time, like, let me in that room, let me in that room, let
Awesome.
me in that room. And he said, okay. And I got in that room and it was like,
Changed your life.
it's like drinking from a fire
Yep.
hose. You're drinking from a fire hose. You have to have the wherewithal to know that you're putting it into buckets
Yep.
and you're only going to
Yep.
be able to action out maybe 3 of those buckets and you have to draw from it now and let go of the other
Yep.
stuff. But then it was talking with Brett and it's getting into more of the right rooms and saying, I can see the big picture. Betsy's an incredible detail person, and I love looking at the 30,000-foot view
Yeah.
and like plowing forward with this. And then she goes, okay, let's build this out into how it's going to action.
So your answers literally just demonstrated that, right? Because I
Very
said,
different,
what's the biggest
Yeah.
impact? You're like, this very tangible
yeah.
thing. And you're
Yeah.
like, the rooms, just
Yeah, yeah.
being
Yeah.
in a room with
Yeah.
other people who think big
Yes.
like I want to think, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's amazing how that just showed up in the actual
That's true.
responses
funny.
there.
That's very
That's
funny.
awesome. But it's so true. But like,
Yeah.
just sitting here doing these having these conversations
Yeah.
together is that right room, right? Like the
Yes.
people that are walking through the office every day that are growth
Mhm.
minded, abundance mentality,
Yes.
right? So it's not always this big grandiose, which is amazing that you did that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you're going to be in Miami next week,
Yep.
right? You're going to Miami too, Betsy,
No, I
next week?
can't make it, but
Okay.
she's going to represent.
Which is part
Yeah,
of it. She
that's
brings
it.
it back,
Goes.
brings back the
Yeah.
value. We're coming back
Yeah.
from that thing, and
Uh-huh.
our next team meetings are going to be filled
Yeah.
with value that
Yeah.
we're going to bring back and collaborate together from that.
It's super
Yeah.
exciting.
So it's like if you can't be in all places at one time,
Correct.
have the leverage of a very tight knit partner or a
Yeah.
larger organization partner as well.
And I
It's
think
awesome.
that you don't have to have what we happen to have. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to succeed by having, two people that are yin and yanging off each other. This works for us
Mhm.
Yep.
and for our lifestyle and the value add to our lifestyle. But you can do this independently because there are systems here.
Yeah.
And because there are people who want to see you win and they are collaborating to get behind you to already emphasize what you're good at and fill in the gaps where you're not. And
Yeah.
I really love that I get introduced to people like Tara, who's down in Red Bank in that area where she is covering that space really well. And I already know she's doing it well.
Yeah.
And like there's that confidence level where you can constantly pull off each other.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I love that. So it's really nice that we fell into this and
Yeah.
that worked for our families and
Yeah.
for what we needed.
And the cool thing, like if you refer someone to Tara, her transaction coordination is just as
Yes.
good as
Yeah.
what you could promise to yours up here and her
Uh-huh.
marketing and everything else that supports
Yeah.
her. Just being
Consistent.
so you refer people to
Yeah.
someone, you're like, I know they're awesome, but I don't know
Yeah.
what their process looks like on the back end. Like, I think it'll probably be good because they're pretty
Yeah.
good. But like now knowing exactly, like
Yeah.
gives you more confidence again to go out there and get that business and refer that business and be confident to.
I would
refer.
say referring has become a big part of our business,
Yeah.
and it's because of the network that we're now part of.
That's
Not
awesome.
just EXP, but within Align, it's been great, and it's a
Yeah.
bottom line that's really important.
That's
in your
awesome. That's like a
business.
tangible dollars
Very
and cents
tangible.
thing, Absolutely.
And sometimes also just letting go of it. I mean, I think Chris recently, and we were talking, and I just knew that this client I had would vibe with him better,
Yeah.
and he was not going to vibe with me. He was, or even Betsy.
Yeah.
Like he needed Chris to step in and take over, and I was like, okay,
Look at-
here you go, and I
Yeah.
just let it go
That's
and
awesome.
like
Yeah.
see him fly with it.
Yeah,
Because that client's gonna be better served from that person, and I have plenty more room to make
Right.
other things happen
that's
now.
right. The abundance mentality. Yep,
Exactly.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love that.
makes a
Cool.
huge difference.
I'd love to wrap it up if you guys want with what's one thing that if you can turn to the camera and to the audience, right? Like something that's giving you the biggest impact today, something that you do. I mean, it could be, a way you work, a lead source you're working that's crushing it, a question you ask every client, right? That really sets up the process you guys want. What's one actionable takeaway we can give everybody?
I think for me, my biggest thing is listening. I know it sounds kind of like an easy answer, but whenever somebody's speaking to me, I'm kind of hearing beyond what the words are and reading a little bit more about whether it's body language or location or, knowing a bit about the background. And it helps me find the pain point that
Awesome.
really needs to be answered.
A lot of people come with what they want to say in a situation and like their process and their talk. They're like,
Yeah.
and being able to first hear and then respond is simple but not easy
Mhm.
always.
It's a skill set, and I will say Betsy really is good at that because it's an area I'm constantly working on.
She's a
But
lot of communicator.
Another
That's
reason it
good.
makes a great partnership.
Yeah. Like, she should. What did you get from that meeting?
Yeah,
She has
yeah.
a whole different story than what I took away.
That's-
And I think for us, it's also just pouring into people. Like for
Yeah.
me, it is getting to know our clients, getting to know the other agents we work with, and then just really just loving on them. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't emphasize how valuable that is to know somebody's needs and how to meet them. And if
Yeah.
I can't meet them, finding the people that can.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
if it's not Betsy or it's not Chris or it's not you, I mean, there's somebody that is going to fit that space.
Yeah.
And
Connect
she'll
them.
listen to them to figure out who it is. And then I can also
Yeah.
just really spend time loving on them and making sure that
Yeah.
once they're our client, you're kind of our client forever.
That's it.
Like you have
I was just thinking
everything.
that. Yeah,
Like,
you really do a great job at keeping the clients like continually informed about how we can help or where
Mhm.
we are or what's the next step that you're looking towards. that's also part of the systems that it takes that extra touch,
I
right?
love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's really fun. That's the fun part. That's the
That
hospitality
that
part.
has been.
That's
Yep.
what I love.
And
that.
that's what creates a long-lasting business,
Yeah.
right? Treating people
Yeah.
like that and treating
Yeah.
them like that from the first phone call, not
Yeah.
like once they've closed the
Yeah.
deal with you, like from the
100%.
first phone call, which you could tell you guys, that's what brings that kind of approach out of you
Yeah.
guys, right?
And even letting it go, because sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't close a deal.
Yeah.
There's something happens. Life happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's some people who don't appreciate that type of service either, right?
Yeah.
And that's
True.
okay. You're not
Right.
everything for everybody,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You're a very specific type of service for someone
Yeah.
who's looking
Yep.
for that type of service.
And if you want a transactional person, we can also
Right.
tell you where to go.
right.
And like, honestly, and there's somebody who's really good at that, and we want you to get what you need.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So yeah,
Well,
that's
speaking
probably
of
not us.
where to go, tell everyone how to get in touch with you if you guys are looking to buy, sell, rent, or invest in Bergen County or the surrounding counties, or if you're looking to get into real estate. I know you guys are
Yeah.
growing like crazy, growing a team within
Yeah.
a team. So let everyone know the best way to get in touch with you, and we'll wrap it up.
You can always reach us on Katie Tarda Properties on Instagram. That's a really good way to stay because everything that comes through me goes to her eventually, and probably most of the things I'm posting, she's reposting.
Yes, that's true.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
then otherwise, it is really by email, and
Yeah.
email is a great way to reach us.
It's lots of confusing words and letters, but eboja@alignteam.com.
We'll put them in the comments or
Yeah.
We'll
flashed
post
on the
it.
screen or something. I'm sure we can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can definitely get us on Instagram. It's
Yeah.
Katie Tarda Properties.
That's my favorite way to stay in touch with everybody.
Yeah.
Love
Good.
fuck.
The DMs, they're so valuable, and
Yeah.
I pay attention to them.
That's
I'm in
awesome.
Yeah,
it. and
you're
I'm
really
really,
good at that.
taking notes on what you need.
That's awesome. Well, guys, this was a ton of fun. It was
Yeah.
really good to hear your backstory, and
Yeah,
looking
it's
forward to
great.
see the success continue.
It's a
Yeah,
great
us
place
too.
to launch.
Thanks, guys.
Mhm.
Thanks.